Brian's like, shit.
It's like I edit the videos and you're not giving me anything to work with. You're like, hey Brian, the intro sucked this week, and I'm like, well, you didn't. I've been telling you for 30 minutes to push record.
Brian's been trying to be nice for the past few weeks, and he's like push record.
Have you noticed Brian's been getting like a little bit meaner every week in tiny steps, like just getting back to where he left off?
Yeah. Oh man, this is wild.
You get like really excited and start kneeing your table and stuff. There's like an earthquake in your room. Yeah.
Jesse's back there laying down under the cover still.
He has his motorcycle jacket. Remember, draped over the headrest.
Ooh.
If your BMI is 30 plus, you shouldn't be driving a motorcycle. Okay.
Bad guy.
Enough jokes.
You wild. All right. You wild. All right. What is up? My name is Lex. That's Brian. This is Steven. And we are the Awkward Side Hug Podcast.
I'm covering the logo because we're not sponsored.
Yeah, exactly. It's vital before the follow. Oh, man. But yeah. Steven.
I'm trying to get that slurp on the mic, but I know, buddy. You're off my life.
Are you okay?
Go away from the mic.
I'm here. The sound was coming.
The sound. Oh my gosh.
So that should be the intro, and now you should intro us.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. I'm crying. What is up? My name is Lex. That's Brian. This is Steven. And we're the Awkward Side Hug Podcast. And we have some good news, some big news.
The best news actually, the Survivor Series was actually really good.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, it was.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. Now that I have a little extra time at home, I'm able to look things up. So.
Do you want me to spoil who won Survivor Series?
Yeah, no, not yet.
Okay, then I won't.
Yeah. I would say yes, but
by the time this comes out, you should know. But
me and Steven will know by the time it comes out. Yeah. But
everyone will know. Everyone's a wrestling fan.
Everyone's. Oh man, this is wild, dude. Steven choking.
But the more important news.
Steven is a dad. Yeah.
I'm officially a father.
We've been
reporting on it for the first several weeks of Ash.
Yeah.
And we've been building that story, and now the conclusion of the storyline is that Steven had a kid this week.
Yeah. The payoff was good.
Yeah.
The payoff was good. It's what an experience. That's what I'll tell you.
Crazy, man. What are your initial thoughts, man?
Oh man, I don't know. It's hard to explain. You just live in the moment. Live in that moment is what I'll say.
That's good.
Yeah.
And is it harder than you expected?
It's a lot harder than I expected.
Yeah.
So especially someone like me who likes to have a structure, like even for the podcast, I like to write things down and go through a schedule. And it's like, this guy's totally he threw me he threw the schedule. He basically flipped off the schedule and said, you're going to do things on my time. So
he didn't go by the Ash Pod schedule.
Yeah. So that's how it's been, but
he doesn't write things down.
But it's awesome. It's
great.
Very awesome.
My mom recently got a dog, and I take care of it every once in a while, so I know how it feels too.
Yeah. I'm sure your dog sleeps all the way through the night. So.
Yeah, I just got a Pikachu, so I could relate. You know what I mean? So
there's something different when you have to wake up every few hours. Dude, you're not used to it.
I was about to say this. So how's the sleep schedule going so far? It's been like a week, right?
Almost. It's almost been a week.
It's been 1
week. Yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing. No, it's been the first couple of days were a challenge, and now me and my wife are figuring it out. We make a really good team, and so we have a schedule and we switch off during the night. But I mean,
Hmm.
as an adult, you're not used to waking up at 2 a.m. for just 3 hours and then going back to sleep and getting a good night's sleep.
I think I'd be a great dad.
Brian, he would be up all night with the kid.
I've been on that. I've been on that schedule.
my anxiety's trained me for this.
Brian's a natural dad right now.
So it's exciting though. So
That's great. That's good to hear.
All right, so I'm not talking about a family reunion when I say we got some polls here.
Ooh. Okay, bars, fam.
People are gonna be like, I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, so we got some polls that we sent out there. So I believe the first one was so you know how we had the data versus data poll. We also have one for caramel or caramel, caramel or caramel, right?
I'm not gonna lie, I was confused on how you spelled them.
Mm-hmm. So and then like people
you spell them like an 8th grade cholo.
Caramel. So people had like kind of sent in some like a third type of thing, but it was really kind of closer to caramel, or they just said caramel as 2 syllables, but it's kind of the same thing. And then caramel is like the clear opposite one. I think caramel was the one that won out by a little bit. Like
I say caramel.
Yeah, I say caramel.
I think I switch off between which way my tongue is feeling that day. Like if I want to say caramel or caramel. My tongue, I just realized my tongue doesn't do shit.
It's not the tongue. Exactly. Oh, that's wild.
Excuse me if you see me yawn a couple times. I am a little sleepy.
They say, sorry that I bore you, Steven.
Well, your tongue is like nailed to the back of your mouth, so it's hard to understand you sometimes.
Steven has a good excuse for yawning today. Or I guess for the next, like, I was about to say 18 years, but probably for the next, what, like,
I hope he doesn't have the same sleep schedule for the next 18 years.
Yeah, you know that Brian's sleep schedule? He's studying for the GRE at 14. But, yeah, so caramel was the one that won out.
Caramel?
Sorry, I don't know why I got offended. Did you see that?
You got really mad that I did that right now.
Like, my weird, like, I have like a weird passive aggressive anger management issue, and it like shined through right there. I don't know what happened, but yeah, that's the one that won out. And then the second poll that we had out was Disney Plus versus Netflix, and this one was a blowout for Netflix. And I thought there might have been, like, I voted like Disney Plus, so there's recency bias there, and I thought there might have been a bit of a recency bias, but no, everyone was straight up Netflix over Disney Plus.
I think there's a lot of components or elements.
Disney's taken enough of my money already.
Okay, there's that. Also, I would say Netflix has been out longer. I think everybody has a Netflix, whereas not everybody has Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
So there might be quite a few people that voted like, hey, I'd have no clue what Disney Plus has to offer. I have not been able to watch any of the content on there. I don't give a crap about Disney movies or whatever. I like watching Breaking Bad on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that could be part of it. If they were both out for, like, what you say, Disney Plus is out for like 3 or 4 more years. I think if we asked then, I think it would be a little bit more down the story. Because I'm going to throw this out there.
It's a good story, bro.
Good story.
The Mandalorian is probably my favorite thing I've seen on a television screen.
So I'm not gonna lie. Like, I want to see that, and since I'm at home right now for a couple weeks, right, because I'm off work, I'm tempted every day to get the Disney Plus just to watch that show. But I know that it's not like Netflix where all the episodes are released. And so you have to wait for each one to be released.
I'm gonna make a point. I'm gonna throw this out there to you.
All right, throw it out here.
If it was binge, like if I was able to binge watch them all on the first day, by now I probably would have been over it. I would have enjoyed it I would have talked about it for like a week and stuff like that. But then when someone brings it up down the line, like, hey, I'm thinking about watching Mandalorian, I'm like, oh yeah, it was really good. You should watch that. But since it comes out once a week, I think I'm going to be talking about it for the next 8 weeks when it comes out. Like it's good. I'm looking forward to it every single week. I've even gone back to watch some shows because I feel like I can't get enough of it. I think it coming out once a week is actually the perfect schedule.
And we'll we'll go ahead and talk about this a little in a couple days, right? Or a little later.
Yeah.
But also, Steven,
we never get to it, so we have to review the whole season.
we have to, I was like, hey, Steven, I think it says 4 devices on my account if you want the old passcode for a couple of days, or like every time a new episode comes out.
It's tempting me right now.
It's worth it. It's my favorite. Like I've been bitching about Daredevil for ages on how good I think Daredevil is, and it's like the best thing on Netflix and all that, or at least in terms of like Netflix originals. And I'm only 3 episodes into The Mandalorian, and just based on what the expectations are every week, because now I think it's going to be 5 out of 5 side hugs every week.
This is what I'll tell you. It feels like, because I've seen Daredevil, and so like watching Daredevil, the cinematics in there, it seems like a show, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But The Mandalorian, the way the cinematics are, it feels like a movie.
Yeah.
You know, like.
But they do break it down into.
I know they're episodes and it's actually a show, but it feels like it's part of the Star Wars movies. I mean, it is part of the storyline, but like it feels like an actual Star Wars movie, not a sideshow of a different story, of a different character. It feels.
Well,
I don't know if I'm explaining that.
I get what you're saying.
I know exactly what you mean.
It's funny because I've actually never.
It's got like theater quality.
Mm-hmm.
It's I thought you lips that, but it was really just the quality, I think, of my headphones.
I don't lisp.
Well, let me put this in perspective because this is probably off topic on our schedule, but I prefer a good series with a good story over a good movie. It's like movies limit a good story.
They do.
But putting this in perspective, that's also why I'm not super into sitcoms. Like I've gone into a few sitcoms because I think the whole creating a new story every single week is not, in my opinion, very engaging television. Like it might be good for that.
Ryan's is a Friends fanatic.
I didn't like Friends. How I Met Your Mother was really good. The Office.
I was like, what? Excuse me?
He was like, what do you say? What do you say about my mom?
That's
like one of my favorites.
I walked into that.
Well, that's one of my favorite shows too.
But the thing is, what these shows brought to the table is there was a foundation storylines in each of these shows. And so when you went into and you watched the next few television episodes or whatever, that foundation storyline was still in there. Like the Jim and Pam story in The Office, that was still an ongoing story.
And there were side stories along the way.
Right. Whereas sometimes, like, watching a new episode of Law and Order or whatever, it's not a sitcom, but you know what I mean? It's a new show every week, and there's no story there.
Wait, it's a new storyline every week.
And to be honest, even Seinfeld is that way. It feels just like a new story every episode.
Mm-hmm.
But Seinfeld was like a group of friends with different experiences every episode.
So maybe a
call
call
the
for
show,
it, right? To be random.
Like the show didn't have a plot or a main plot that it followed throughout, every episode or every season. It's kind of like what we do here at the Awkward Side Hug. We don't, we just.
There's no story here.
There's no story.
We're building the Steven's going to be a dad story. The entire.
And the payoff was amazing.
We talked about it twice, I think.
We talked a podcast about nothing.
I swear, if I wasn't so lazy, I would go back and take every single moment we talked about you being a dad on this podcast, make a montage, and send it out.
It was like the first 2 episodes. And then after that, it just kind of faded away, and now it's real, so it's here again.
I think it's a day one topic.
There's more clips of Lex turning away from the mic to like sneeze or cough or drink.
That's a good story, though.
Then there is.
That's a good storyline too, though. Hopefully that one will pay off one day too. But speaking of day ones, shouts out to Vital Pomona. Some of our other day ones. You can visit Vital Pomona at Vital Pomona on Instagram and on www.vitalpomona.com. Or maybe not. It's not on here anymore. That threw me off. All right. We believe everyone has a gift. Some just need help finding it. Vital Pomona is located in downtown Pomona at 266 West 2nd Street, Pomona, California. Brian and I have visited a couple times now. No. Right? Yeah, a couple times.
I went there 3 times within 6 days.
Ever since we got the follow. That's been the follow's just like given us life. It's breathed life. Like I think we just got like 20 new followers today. And that's like more than we've ever had, ever.
I felt like we needed some fresh eyes on the product.
Yeah. So welcome. Hi, if you are a new viewer. And that's all we got for you. Yeah. So hi.
So
Hello.
I got a cold brew recently at Vital. And
Dude, how is it?
Wait, what did you get?
it was really good, and I didn't
cold
crap
brew, is that what you
myself.
said?
That's why I liked it.
Really? Cold brew, iced coffee?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're housing one of the their cold brew option is from a local option in downtown Pomona, a local coffee spot, I think. And they also have like a hot coffee option at Vital now from a second.
Are these prepackaged?
I'm not sure. Oh no, I think they're in a keg.
Well,
The cold brew's in a keg.
the cold brews in the keg. They got the beans from another coffee place.
The hot coffee place. Yeah.
They didn't buy ad space, so we're not throwing them. We're not
but Vital. Okay, yeah. So, anyways,
so
you guys will take me here.
Yeah. I know. We'll take you.
We'll see how your sleep schedule is.
I don't sleep, so
we take Steven like a weekend at Bernie's. He's just like like, hey, Will, this is Steven. He's just like.
So speaking of Netflix and I guess a place where you can get coffee, and I don't think the coffee is really related to this.
Is the coffee organic or?
So
yeah.
I'm probably like 2 to 3 years late on this, but I recently watched the movie Okja without giving out spoilers. It's about the food making industry and stuff like that. And I just brought it up slightly in the pre-show, and we actually talked about it for like 5 minutes, and we were like, yeah, might as well talk about it. So I don't know what exactly is the debate here.
So it all started because Brian
We're
said
talking about pesticides.
he buys organic food.
Not always.
Right, he made that point. He said not always, but he said I buy organic food, and then because then he's like, yeah, like my strawberries and raspberries, like pesticides, or the spray gets into the little creases of the strawberries and raspberries that sometimes you can't wash out, and so you're eating that stuff, and it might not be safe. And I said, well, like if the pesticides don't kill me, like drinking a Coke every day will, right? 'Cause, I'm addicted to soda, and I think Brian, I don't know if you still are, but I don't want to speak for you, but a Coke a day keeps me happy, So,
Keeps
so I
me
told
relaxed.
him, yeah. So I told him that. What's the point of organic if you're gonna drink a soda a day anyway? It's like it's counterproductive. So then we got into vegetarians and vegans and the humane way to slaughter an animal for food and hunter gatherers, and it really just it swan dived into a black hole of
It was a lot of
random topics.
So yeah, I was because I know you guys maybe have your opinions and stuff, but without getting controversial, it's like
everybody has an opinion, right? They're like buttholes.
But I was like thinking like I'll admit when it comes to
I'll admit.
Sorry,
that Country Grammar, fam. Was it the Cadillac Pimpin'?
Well, Country Grammar is an album made by Nelly.
Yeah.
It's like, do you want to take a ride with me? That song's on there.
Yeah.
And then, so but Straight Cadillac Pimpin's one of my favorite Southern hip hop songs by 8 Ball and MJG.
MJG.
You should go on Spotify or iTunes or whatever and listen to that. 'Cause I want you to think of me while listening to that.
You're listening to that.
Because when I was 14 years old, that's how I got hood ready
Dude.
for my day.
14 years old, your homepage was datpiff.com.
Yeah.
His song on MySpace. You know how you could put a song? It was that song.
I was 14 years old. I probably
Copy's
had
hitting me right now.
an iPod Nano or something.
Yeah.
Dude, I went through like 6 iPod Nanos because I kept crushing the screen. So like I would crush them and then I'd go and get a new one.
Were you listening to heavy metal or what was going on?
Dude, I don't know what I was doing.
You would throw it on the ground before you're about to play basketball, then you pick it up at the end of the game and realize you threw too hard? Or?
The iPod Nano was the reason why I didn't do very good in high school.
Oof.
Ooh.
Always listening to music or what?
Dude, yeah. You know, you'd have your earphones like through your sweater.
Yeah.
Your ears, or in one ear.
Yeah. That's wild. I remember one time I had like a knockoff MP3 player, right? It wasn't the iPod Nano and it wasn't the competing one.
Zune?
Yeah, it wasn't a Zune. It was something else, right? It was a cheap one. Or I bought it at like Radio Shack or whatever, blah, blah. And it was good. It served its purpose. And I remember one time,
it was just called MP3 player?
Yeah, MP3 player. And
Like a literal like MP3 player. It wasn't a name brand, right? Yeah, I remember those.
Exactly. Yeah.
It looked like a little USB stick.
Yeah, it was black.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember one time, like the button was about to fall off, and I'm usually pretty good with like products, whatever. Like I don't really like break them easily. Like they survived the Brian test, like all of my products, right? And so I remember one time, like a button was coming off or something, and I was like, oh, let me try to like fix it, and I ended up kind of like cracking part of it, and I'm like, oh crap, now this button's stuck, and I was like, and it didn't work anymore. I'm like, oh no. So then I tried to like go return it, and I was like, a teenager, right? And I was like, oh, it's not working. And they're looking at it. It's like, oh, we can't return it. I'm like, oh, but it's not working. And it's like, oh, you tried like, cracking or whatever. I was like, no, I didn't. And like, I got mad. I was like, so what? I'm stuck with this. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. I was like, and I just walk out. So like, my dumbass was trying to like blame it on them. I don't know why like that story like popped in my head as soon as you said iPod Nano. It was just like a little 14-year-old Lex like getting mad over like something that was his fault.
It's crazy where we're at with technology because I actually felt like I was not as cool as others when I had the iPod Shuffle.
Mm.
Yeah, because the Shuffle was just this little stick.
Yeah, didn't have any screen. Like,
wait, did you have the original Shuffle or did you have the small little square Shuffle?
So I had both at one point in my life.
Because the original one was the white bar that looked like a pack of gum,
and you could take you could take the little cap off the end.
And then it even had a cap that the cap had like a neck strap.
Mm-hmm.
You could just wear it around. Oh man,
dude, I remember that.
We're booming harder now.
Dude, yeah.
Okay, boomer.
Well, I guess getting back to the original discussion, which was I don't know if
organic food.
If we're gonna get like super into it, but it's like,
is it worth your money?
I was gonna say I brought into discussion. He has a flip phone. So you look like a criminal.
That's
you keep all your stuff? What a hoarder!
I know, dude. This is wild, fam.
Is that where Epstein called you, or?
It's like a top secret phone that you can't hack.
It's your burner.
I didn't realize, dude. I should probably throw all these away or recycle them. Oh, this is my first phone ever. I think.
Did you ever have the Nokia bricks?
No, but this might as well be one, dude. Like, this is freaking. It breaks right.
I'm just trying to figure out why you have all this stuff in a box, right? Like readily accessible to you.
Like you never know if like this is like
just laying on your bed and you're just like.
Yeah, it's like zombie apocalypse, like ready and everything. I got like 4 burner fours.
It's like that. It's like that meme where the guy is on the podium and he's like, "All right, yeah, we got him," and then it shows like everyone's gonna break into your house and they'll take all your flip phones.
You just see like a bunch of like swap people. Wow. But
So I guess the point I was trying to get at was like, I'll admit I live a very cushy life, and it's easy to have an out of sight, out of mind thing when I buy meat. But if I actually saw the meat die in front of me, I don't know if I would be as comfortable eating it. I don't
So
live on a
what
farm.
happens when because you're not dumb, you know that the animal is getting killed. Like, what's your thought on it, or what's your
I don't know, I'm very ignorant on the subject, but
is it
if there's a more humane way of doing it,
like,
I
how do you
prefer
think
that.
they kill your food?
They shoot it in the head, or and then they chop it up, and I'm sure maybe that's the quickest way, maybe it's the least painful way, I don't know. But like, and I watched Okja, and I got really sad during parts of the movie. So I was like, oh well. But the thing is, I looked at the.
Snowflake.
I don't
You're
want
welcome.
to. I don't want to like spoil the movie, but like you learn to appreciate and love the animals in the movie. So that's why it's harder to see it in the movie. Whereas like I don't have a personal relationship with all the piece of meat I buy at the store. So it's different, but should that be? I'm
Just
sure
this
that
fictional animal.
I'm sure there's like a vegetarian or vegan. I'm
They're just like losing their mind right now.
well. We're also assuming people watch this,
Yeah.
but like there's someone watching. It's like they have feelings.
Yeah.
They should be your friends. Have you seen the meme? This is a very old meme where it's like cows are your friends, and then the comment underneath it's like name one cow that's your friend.
Oh,
Dude, it reminds me of like the history memes or whatever, like the ones from like a few weeks ago. It was like, oh, you like history? Name everything that's ever happened. That was my favorites.
Speaking of food, Ike sandwiches. Sandwiches that will change your outlook on life because we're that good. 500 amazing options. Vegetarian, if you think animals have feelings. Meat, if you don't. Vegan, if you are really upset about our conversation. And gluten-free, if you can't have bread. We got you. Purple Heart. www.lovinSandwiches.com at Ike Sandwiches on Instagram. Oh, I'm gonna get a message like, "Hey, you can't talk about Ike's on your show anymore."
hey, to each their own. Everybody, you know.
Yeah. I believe we have one more topic on the list here, or two.
Maybe two.
Two, yeah,
We'll
two.
go two.
Fourth mic. So we have a couple of fourth mic questions. I'd said that like like I was just writing like a rough draft of an essay. Hella red marked up right now. But anyways, the first question is on here.
So how's school going, Lex?
It's actually going really good. I actually just got accepted into the grad program at Cal Poly. So officially, I am going to.
So we have another 3 years of you wearing Cal Poly gear.
Yeah, basically, dude.
Are you gonna play anywhere else, or are you just done? You're over it? Because
I was
other
considering-
Cal State probably had the same requirements. If you wanted to try another one.
Yeah, but it is actually easier to go to the same school, at least for Cal Poly, that you got your bachelor's degree in, and you know, even for like CSUs, right? It's still GRE required, which I already have, and I actually did good on my written portion. So I'm really happy about that because the first two portions I was like, oh, but the writing portion I did pretty good. But it's still a GRE required thing for CSUs when you apply. It's like letters of rec are required, and a couple other things, like a couple other extra things, or whatever. And then obviously UCs are just like the list
Right.
goes on. But for Cal Poly, it was literally three things. It was like apply, personal statement, and have a 3.0 in my English classes. You know what I mean?
So like Cal Poly Pomona is a CSU. I don't know why we're having this discussion.
Yeah.
We'll end this soon.
Yeah.
Cal Poly is a CSU. There's 23 campuses. So the CSU thing is a generalization of all the campuses, but some of them also don't require the GRE and stuff like that. So just
Are you just letting everybody that's gonna apply for a major or their major?
should I give college advice? How to Get Into Debt and Ruin Your Life by Brian. Get 4 views. So let's get into our fourth mic questions.
Yeah. So one of the fourth mic questions was, and this is a pretty good one. I remember I've researched this before. Did aliens crash in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947? So of course this is referring to the famous Roswell crash. That
New Mexico,
happened.
right?
Hey, can I
Yeah,
make a, let me
I
let
tried.
me let me make a side question to you guys, and then we'll get into the Roswell thing. Because the Roswell thing, I think, is kind of related in terms of like people have these conspiracies of certain things happening that may or may not have happened.
Bush did 9/11.
Okay, so do you think the moon landing happened in 1969?
I think that one did
Yes.
happen.
Okay, some people don't think it happened. A USC alumni, Neil Armstrong, landed on the moon. Obviously, USC people are good at lying, so that's was so maybe it didn't.
Maybe it didn't happen. You're
But I
right.
was gonna say, like, because the Roswell thing, I was thinking about. I don't know why this crossed my mind right now, but the Roswell thing is another situation where it's like you're kind of confident in your answer, but then also there is that part of you that's like, meh.
Isn't that what a conspiracy theory is?
Now I feel like a conspiracy theory more so double downs on the non-natural idea of what happened, I guess. But Lex is about to tell me that's wrong too. Loaded question.
No, you're good.
So,
Loaded.
I mean, a
Hashtag.
conspiracy theory is basically a different theory of what really happened, right? It's just questioning exactly what's
It's
been told to the people.
yeah, it's a question of motive or whatever, or like or coming up with an alternate story that's not believable or more believable, stuff like that. But I feel
I don't know.
like
Some conspiracy theories seem kind of believable.
right. So, but that's the thing. Like conspiracy theories, I feel like more so double down on the idea, whereas, like.
It's a loaded question.
Oh, God. Hashtag loaded question.
Okay, so
Yeah, so the Roswell crash was rather interesting because I remember growing up hearing about it. It was like, oh yeah, aliens crashed and the government's covering it up, right? But for some reason, when I researched it like a couple of years ago, it kind of does seem like it was just a weather balloon that, crashed, But I don't know. But yeah, so for those who don't know, it's I guess the official reports that the government are reporting is that it was just like some sort of weather balloon that just like crashed and people took pictures of it or whatever, blah blah, this and that, and that's all it was. But I'm trying to look up here why people think they're aliens. So
Because the weather balloon was like a UFO shape.
yeah, exactly.
do you guys believe in Area 51?
No.
Um,
Like they have aliens there? I mean, Area 51 is a real place, but are we talking about if they're just holding aliens or?
Right.
I think they might, but it's crazy because
I think the possibility of aliens is obviously real because they're in our country. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, it was a joke. I knew I'd catch you off guard, and so I had to say it. So, and it's okay. I can say that because I'm brown and proud.
Are you proud?
I'm a proud father. So
you're brown and sleepy.
that sounds like a Chicano hip hop album.
That's right. I was gonna say
Brown and sleepy.
that's my my debut album. Brown.
You get Gideon tattooed right here.
His name's not Gideon, by the way.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Don't put things in people's head.
Yeah, you're right. We gotta stop saying that.
So, aliens. The possibility of aliens, I think, there could be aliens.
Mhm.
There's the universe is infinite, right?
Yeah.
And we spoke about infinity, in a previous episode. But
Mhm.
there's so many different galaxies and stuff in the universe, and so the possibility of other life, I think, is high, right? It has to be. We even did an equation about life on the other planets, extraterrestrial life. Check that episode out. I explain it.
Mhm.
So,
Professor Galindo.
This might be a thing, dude. He's good.
So the fact that a UFO, it could be a UFO, we don't know. But the thing is, there's not enough evidence to prove that it was a real UFO.
Yeah.
And not a weather balloon. It's like the balloon. Remember the balloon kid?
Yeah.
It's something like that. Like, it's just not enough evidence.
Mhm.
Do you ever just look at certain animals and go like, man, it's crazy that there's like different species in the world that look like that?
No, you're absolutely right. It's just I don't know why I was laughing because like I just felt like it was like a high thought. Like
Well, no, well, yeah, but I know it sounded like that, but it's like, have you ever just looked at like a moose and you're just like that's crazy?
Right? Like,
I don't know where I've heard that before. I don't know if you brought that up like a long time ago, but that's so hilarious. Like I've heard that before.
like there's
but-
different species and different,
Yeah.
just the way they look. And,
And we're connected in DNA to some of them more so than others and stuff like that. But
Yeah. You know what I
Well,
think?
it depends. Yeah, depends what your beliefs are. You know, if you're creation, you know, if you're
Yeah.
about creation or.
well, apparently
if you're
fish is not
evolution.
meat in some cultures.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like
That's
I
a
think about
religious
that-
thing. So
I think about-
Religions in that culture, according to you.
change my mind.
Yeah, wow. No, I think about the fish like or the species of like
Species of fish.
yeah, species of fish. No, I'm trying to because I'm trying to say like I want to say animals, but what
Well, there.
fish would be an animal.
yeah, right? Species of
Animal
like,
is a generalization term for I think everything, right?
general.
Always-
But, like, there's
There's
like
gonna be a biology major
You're
gonna
talking about mammals.
gonna get our podcast canceled.
something like that. Yeah. But yeah,
You're
but
talking
we'll
about
just call them animals.
reptiles. Or you're talking about mammals.
They're called like
Amphibians or whatever.
yeah, what are like fish, shark, whales?
Amphibians.
I don't even know if I said that right.
Oh man.
Nada.
yeah, you know like the ambidextrous fish. But
So-
what are the 5 condomly related animals?
So technically, I think sharks are fish, and
Yeah.
whales are mammals. So you're
mammals like
kind of not in the same.
dang. So anyway, okay,
You're
animals.
not in the same.
Deep down in the ocean, like when they talk about stuff that are like
Down in my heart.
Lex is probably getting slightly heated because we're not letting him finish.
Okay, I'm done.
but
It's the coffee.
like that fish with like the lantern or whatever. I'm gonna explain. I'm explaining.
Anglerfish. Yeah, the anglerfish.
Anglerfish.
Mhm.
Like that's like shit. Like that's wild. And like
How do you know that?
you, Brian, got high before the episode.
Dude, that Coke, when he opened it up, it just hit him. It's like,
Three shoulders, dude. But yeah, that's wild, dude.
All right, what's the other question?
And then the final question of the day.
the way animals look is just wild. That's our conclusion.
That's our conclusion.
Except turtles. Lex doesn't like turtles.
You know those animals that are deep in the ocean that I hate?
Oh, you're wild, man. You
Check
know,
out episode 1 and you'll know.
So I was eating lunch with Jesse on campus, and I guess the Taco Bell on campus now switched to the paper straws, right? And as soon as Jesse opened up his straw, he's like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And then like he was like drinking it, and he was like, "Man, this is bullshit."
Right?
Yeah, because it was all soggy and like they break apart.
The government shouldn't be able to tell me you can't use a plastic straw. Like, unacceptable.
Wild, fam. But yeah. So
Well, we have turtles on camp. You guys have turtles on campus, so
That's true.
you guys had to be extra careful.
You have turtles at Cal Poly?
at Cal Poly, to be honest, I didn't know that, but we have a lot of different shit on Cal
They're all,
Poly.
Well,
they're all
let's
running.
also-
They're
let's
running with
also
the
think
with the
there's
Arabian
other
horses.
CSUs.
Other
We all-
CSUs? No, yeah, never mind. But there's also a koi pond at Cal Poly.
That's where the turtles are at.
That's where the turtle. That's where the turtles are. My bad. My tongue's like
Enjoy
getting
the
heavy right
turtle.
now.
Those are where the straw victims are.
The straw victims.
You just see you see Lex bringing plastic straws to school just to throw them in the pond. That's why he's always running late to Spanish class, because he drops the
I think
straws in
the
the pond before he.
Hey, why you walking by the Japanese pond on the way to class? It's not even near there. He's like, oh no, I just like seeing it.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Crying. Yeah, wow.
So, have
Oh,
you
yeah,
guys
the
ever been
final-
cheated on?
Yeah.
Real quick though, shout out to Steve Irwin, that guy.
Sorry.
Why are you laughing?
Because I think it's really genuine and I like it, but it just was so random.
That came out of
Because like we're talking about all these animals, and it just made me think of how like awesome he was,
R.I.P.
because he really cared about the animals. And
Mhm.
I think something on my bucket list is to go to Australia and go to the zoo, the Steve Irwin Zoo.
Yeah.
That'd be
But
pretty
that's
cool.
just like us randomly talking about the Constitution and then me randomly at the end going, oh, by the way, shout out to Benjamin Franklin. Like
That's
Benjamin
pretty sad.
Franklin didn't write the Constitution.
he was involved.
He might have been one
Changed
of
my
the
mind.
writers. I don't know. I'm not sure.
He wasn't.
Conspiracy.
His signature was on it, right?
No, that's a Declaration of Independence, I believe.
Yeah.
There's no signatures on the Constitution.
Dang. That was a loaded question.
English major.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Oh man.
Imagine he said he sends the Constitution back revised with red marks on it.
Oh man, that's wild. But yeah, oh yeah. So, fourth my question: have you guys ever been cheated on?
Not to my knowledge, but that
Yeah,
doesn't mean
nobody
that
knows.
doesn't mean that it's happened or not happened.
You never know. Yeah. You never know because it happens often. It happens a lot where, it happens.
Here's another high thought for you guys,
Mhm.
right? Because you said like, oh, you never know, but like if you don't know about it, then did it really ever happen? Like,
It did
because
happen.
your reality your reality is in your mind and your experiences, and if you never experienced, you can't technically say that it ever happened to you.
Yeah.
So it's like the
I'll
tree falling in the
piggyback-
forest. Like if you don't hear it, did it really happen?
Did it really
Yeah.
make a sound? Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but it did. It's just
But-
you weren't there to hear it.
But I'll piggyback off of Steven's viewpoint with something that a wise man once told me years and years ago.
Oh shit!
That
I thought,
yeah, even if it happened and the relationship, whether it eventually was over and you just never know if it happened or not, or whether it worked, if that's just something that person is going to have to live with always, and at the very least it'll always be real for the person that it happened to, or like Brian said, like if you're not sure if it's happened in the past, at least that relationship was whatever it was in the past for you.
I
And
don't.
it doesn't. Yeah, I mean,
I don't like
I
to
think if
judge
you
without
don't
having
have-
evidence.
Yeah, if you don't have proof or you don't have like hard fact that it happened, then you can't really say that like there was a possibility that it happened. I think it's either all or nothing when it comes to that.
That wise man probably has anxiety.
yeah, the white man was Brian, which is awesome.
I guess I was just trying to say, like, as if you don't know what happened and you're still living your best life, then obviously the relationship's still real to you. And
Exactly. Yeah. And
Right.
I think that was more to calm the anxieties of like if you ever had doubts like during a current relationship.
Right.
You know what I mean? And still, it's a really good statement, man. Because that's why I was able to like remember it all these years. And you probably said this like not in high school, but when we were teenagers at least, or like
I probably said it like
Was this
early
This-
20s,
yeah.
maybe before then.
yeah, probably.
is it more of like a coping mechanism?
I think if you have obviously, if you're in a decent relationship, you'll be able to communicate your concerns, and then they will be talked about, and then you'll have trust with the person or whatever.
Exactly.
But certain relationships are not all built the same. So sometimes that might lead to an unwanted conversation. It might lead to a heated discussion, argument, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you choose not to have that because you just don't want to have that moment. So then you're sitting there thinking that maybe your significant other is doing some shady crap. So you do have to tell yourself, like, well, if I don't have proof of them doing something, then I can at least do what I feel like is in my best interest of still continuing this relationship if that's something you want to do. Like, is that a healthy relationship? Not necessarily.
It's kind
But
of confusing because it's just kind of saying like, well, since I don't know what you're doing, I don't want to assume you're cheating. So I'm just gonna say what you do is what you do, and you have to live with it. Basically,
Well,
right?
yeah, but you also, it depends on the personality of people, because you could also be like, hey, I feel like you're doing shady stuff, and the other person could be like, oh no, I'm sorry if I ever made it look like I'm doing shady stuff. I'm really not, and it's actually a really good conversation you're having with the person. That's a different thing. But sometimes people are afraid to have that conversation, so therefore you sometimes have to have the conversation with yourself. And then maybe if you get comfortable with the person to have that conversation, you can at that point. If not, then maybe it isn't a healthy relationship. But we've all been in unhealthy relationships. So
That is true.
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah,
you're
I mean-
listening to that, Stevenson.
But yeah. No, yeah, it sucks. Yeah, I have been indeed cheated on, and
Because
it
I
was,
think out of all three of us, right? You're the only one that like knows for a fact.
It's yeah that I know. Yeah, and you know it sucks. I'll tell you right now, it's like the worst feeling in the world, as far as like emotions go, right?
Mhm.
Like non-physical pain, but and especially the first day, the first 2 days, the first 3 days after you like first find out or whatever, and it's like the one thing that you feel is that you feel like you just will never be good enough for anybody, and it's the crappiest feeling in the world. And and it
do
sucks
you
because it
think?
makes you also make irrational decisions. Like like the next morning, like I went to like your guys' basketball game that you coached, and I was planning on still meeting up with that person, like in person, like to break up or whatever, right? And you know, these are like kind of irrational decisions because like Steven brought up a good point. He was like, well, you know, she doesn't really deserve that, you know, like might as well just end it there. But then you kind of, since you feel like you're not good enough for anyone, you still kind of long for that person's acceptance, you know? So you do things like that, or like still even meet up with them like a week after that, or a month after that. But it's yeah, it sucks, dude. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. And
It's kind of like Coke, you know. I know it's bad for me, but I
yeah,
keep
yeah, right.
coming back.
But you still have one a day, right?
Yeah.
I try not to have one a day, but sometimes it feels like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me
I
about it.
start crying.
I know, yeah. But
Coke will
yeah,
never
I
cheat on
mean,
me.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it sucks because like at the end of the day, there is on like the silver lining of it, like two points. It's at least respectable that the person can admit something so horrible like that. So there's only like some sort of like 1% of respect and like appreciation that they at least admitted it then, so that we now knew that it wasn't going to work like eventually or right away or however. Like every relationship's different, like how Brian said. But and then also yeah, like anything, time heals all wounds. So it's really just like the first couple days that were super hard, that I feel were super hard, and after that it's just like kind of like a stat at that point. It's like, yeah, that's the day I got like 10 rebounds, you know, or something like that. But
Before we go, Steven, I get introduced avocado toast to your son
Yes. Unless he's allergic to avocados
or toast.
or toast.
or toast, gluten-free organic avocados.
They have gluten-free bread at Ike's.
So
Mm,
they do, right?
they do.
Man, this show's kind of awkward.